Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now your hosts, Jackson Mummy and Megan Saya from Celebration Bar Review.
Hey everybody, welcome. It is Wednesday, September 22nd. We are glad to have you with us. Hi Megan, how are you?
Hi, doing well. How are you?
I am doing very well for a late in September Wednesday. Yeah, that's weird. Here we are. Welcome to everybody who's with us today, and hope everybody has had a good study week. This has been a big week because Florida results came out, and this is the first of the large jurisdictions in the country to release results. So we're going to spend a fair amount of time today talking about and breaking down those results and analyzing them. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. We're also going to talk a little bit about what's going on generally in the bar, some news out of Pennsylvania, some other things happening around the bar exam. So maybe you can lead me through it and we'll make sure I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
So we, as you've been hearing us talk, we have converted our course to a brand new platform, and our existing course, what we were using up until just a few weeks ago on a site called WordPress, has now been shut down. If you go to celebrationbarreview.com, obviously it's still there, and all of that front page material is there. But when you go to log in, it will not take you where you've been. It'll take you to the new site. I know that we've got some people, because of our lifetime pass guarantee, who probably have just sort of slipped away and not paid a whole lot of attention maybe for the past 6 months or a year. And now we're trying to go back in. What's going to happen is when you try to go back into the old WordPress site, you're going to get a 404 no page there error. And then we assume you will contact us and reach out and say, what happened? And we will give you the link to the new page and the new course site. But that site has literally been shut down. We have erased all of the accounts for that. Your username and password for that site won't do you any good. I promise we're still here, better than ever, but we're not on that old site. It's interesting to me. I don't know what feedback you're hearing, but I was talking to a student today who is in South Africa, who's in our course, and she was talking about how she loves this new course site because she can see everything all in one spot. She said, I don't have to carry my books around with me. I can see exactly what I want. Everything is right there. I can download the essay when it's time to write it. Doesn't matter where I am. It's all completely portable. She said, I do some of my lessons on my tablet when I'm out of the office, and I do some at my computer. And that's the feedback I'm getting. What are you hearing from students?
Yeah, definitely. I think people are really enjoying it. Just the ease of use is really great. You're not going to be searching for things or trying to find something in which folder is it, or getting confused between the multi-state versus the UBE. It's just all very clearly laid out for you exactly what you need. If we want you to write an essay next, that particular essay will be there for you. The model answer will follow. The multiple choice questions we want you to practice will be right there. Yeah, I think it's been really good so far.
The other thing I want to say, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail, but it's probably a good time to just mention it. If you are looking to upgrade your course, whether you're in a retake or first time through, you will see in this new course platform, it's very easy to do that. There are lessons early in the course that give you button links to purchase an hour of time with Megan or with me, or to upgrade to 8 calls or 15 calls or 12 calls, whatever it might be, or the personal writing workshop, whatever those items might be, or to add photo reading. Very simple, right there. You just, within the course site, you just click on it, take you right to the page you need. So it's really easy to customize your course once you're in, and you can do that at any time. So I just want to make sure that people knew that option was there. In any event, we're excited about that, going from the old to the new, and hope people like it. I hope the comments I'm hearing are all positive. I'm not getting anything except, hey, I love this. So cool.
Great. All right, let's move on to results now. So since last week, since we had the webinar last week, there are now results out for Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Maine, Missouri, Utah, and Vermont. So they're trickling in. Florida is obviously the only big jurisdiction that has released their results. We knew it was coming. on Monday. So Jackson, let's dive into what happened in Florida. What do you think?
First of all, congratulations to everyone that passed, because you are heroes. This was a beatdown. I think that's a good way to put it. Megan, you were telling me that as you were looking down the list, what did you see when you were looking down?
Yeah, I was just, as I was glancing through the list, it was like fail, pass, fail. And this is like for everyone who sat for the Florida bar. It was incredible to see, just even before we got the statistics, to look and see, woo, this is just a rough test. It's looking more and more like California's bar every year, I feel like.
It is. And so let me give you some numbers, and I'm going to get a little geeky here, so bear with me, but I think it's important to understand. Our calculation, which is this is our take on the numbers, and I'll explain why in a moment. We are announcing a statewide official overall pass rate of 55.9%. That is a horrible number by any measure. Now, it has been reported at much lower than that. The Tallahassee Democrat, which is generally considered the official state newspaper when it comes to things like bar results, ran an article this week calling the pass rate at 44.4%. That's a big discrepancy between what we've got. So I want to explain what we think the numbers actually mean. There were about 3,350 bar takers on this exam. So you can see the numbers. It's interesting. The online exam still is bringing people in a way that we'll see what happens when we go back to live in Tampa in February. But of those 3,350, 2,285, so almost 3,000, were first-time takers. The reported pass rate from the Florida bar examiners on that group was 71.6%. And you're going to hear some stories in some media in which they say the Florida bar pass rate was 71.6%. That is not accurate. That's just the first-time taker rate. And that's not a particularly high first-time rate, is it, Megan? If we look around the country, 71% is not great.
Yeah.
So we start with that number, which is a depressed number. Now, what Florida does, unlike any state that I can think of, correct me if I'm wrong, Florida does not report a repeat bar taker pass rate. They don't do it. You have to wait a full year and a half until the NCBE releases that number, which is the official number, but it's a lagging number by 18 months. So there were 1,058 repeat bar takers in Florida. That's a pretty significant number. So essentially 1 out of 3 bar takers in the exam was a repeat bar taker. That number will flip, by the way. In February, it'll be 2 repeat takers to every 1 first-time taker. So it literally flips itself. But in any event, of those 1,058, how many passed? Well, we go back historically to ask how many July repeat takers pass in Florida. And the number for the last 3 years, excluding the weirdness of 2020, which we have to exclude, was 22%. That's the number, very consistent, of repeat takers that pass, 22%. So if you're a repeat bar taker, you got a 1 in 5 chance of passing the bar. If you passed, you're a hero, right? In any event, when we take that 22%, what that means is that we've got 230 repeat takers who passed, and we've got 1,637 first-time bar takers that passed. When we add those two numbers together, I see Megan's eyes are glazing over. When we put those two numbers together, we get 1,869 passing applicants. 1,869 divided by 3,343 gets us to 55.9%. So that's where we're coming up with our pass rate. We would say that's the accurate rate for the overall pass rate. Now, that's a pretty staggeringly bad number by any means. And it continues to demonstrate, I think, the trend, which is that Florida joins California and Georgia as being extraordinarily difficult states in which to pass the bar exam. Hence the reason we spend so much of our time in those 3 states. There are some UBE states that are tough, to be sure, but if we're trying to put this in comparison, Florida would be at 272 on the UBE scale, right? That's a pretty tough number to hit as compared to 260, which is the minimum passing number. So that's the overall number. Now, there's some other things that make this number even weirder, and I want to talk about those if you think it's time now, Megan. Are we ready to talk about what they do in Florida?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
They are very funny about their stats in Florida.
They are. So here's what happens. You are only counted as a first-time taker if you take the bar exam immediately after you graduate from law school. So if you graduated law school in spring of 2021 and you sat for the July 2021, you're a first-time bar taker. But let's say that you graduated law school in not spring of 2021, but 6 months earlier, and you decided to not take the February 2021 bar exam. And so the first time you actually sat was in July. That would seem like you're a first-time taker, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, first time taking the bar exam, you'd assume.
But you're not. Under the weirdness of Florida reporting, you're not a first-time taker if you didn't sit immediately upon graduation. Why, you might ask, would that happen? It has a lot to do with U.S. News and World Report and bar accreditation. And so if you are in a law school that is struggling with accreditation or worried about accreditation, almost certainly you took a bar prep class in your third year or fourth year of law school. And if you finished in the bottom, let's say 25% of that bar class, you graduate, they give you your diploma, and then you get an interesting letter from the dean that says, we would like to pay you a study stipend and encourage you to not sit for the upcoming July bar exam, but wait until February to take it. And we will help you with your living expenses, blah, 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 blah. And you think to yourself, this is awesome. I don't have to pay my loans yet. I'm getting a stipend. I've got more time to study. Yay me. And you go take the exam in February. You are no longer counted in the list. Not every school, but some schools in Florida manipulate their takers so that they only put a certain number of people that they are reasonably confident will pass in front of the first exam. Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah, it's very.
My explanation makes sense.
Yes, your explanation makes sense. The practice is very odd. The whole thing of Florida not releasing their pass rates for everyone, very strange, right? Not releasing pass rates for people who are not first-time takers, very strange. Even the practice, to be perfectly honest, of ranking every year, they publicize, along with the results, they always publicize the rank of the law schools in Florida and how they did with their first-time taker pass rates is very odd. I just don't understand really like the purpose for all of these things, other than obviously a big piece of it, I think, is, this is just me, I think motivated by PR on the part of the Florida bar. I think that they are trying to make it look like, hey, look at all these great Florida law schools who have better results than non-Florida law schools as the first-time takers taking the Florida bar. But yes, it is a very strange process, that's for sure. But all that to be said, I think the point is the actual pass rate in Florida is not very good. And so we have had quite a few students who were hearing passed, so that's fantastic. If you are one of the students who did not, please do not look at the stats that are floating around and think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Everyone else did fine. Those are not actually at all representative of what happened with the July test. I think that's where I worry, is for like students who failed, that it just feels like very easy to slip into, oh gosh, look at that, like 80-something% of the people who went to my law school passed. Well, no, they didn't. That's not really the case. Or 71% of the people who took the exam passed. No, absolutely not the case. So just please give yourself grace and understand that you are definitely not alone if you were unsuccessful in the Florida bar.
Yeah, another trend that we saw a lot of in the early results we got back, and we're still getting results in from our students, a lot of people who pass Part A but not B, or pass Part B and not Part A. So frustrating, but get part of the exam out of the way and then focus on the other part. And that's generally, we rarely would suggest that anyone resit for both sides of the exam. Just, you get one of them completed, lock down that score, go on and focus on the other, and we'll get you through it all. And we have some great stories of people who have done that. I'm hoping that some of those people will agree to do some interviews with us because they are extraordinary stories. And I will say, for everyone that's willing to share their story, it's really an extraordinary thing to do. They're putting themselves out there. They're telling the whole world I had these struggles. And yet I know that those stories just are inspiring and uplifting to so many people. So if you're one of the people that is doing an interview with us, if we've selected you or asked you to do it, know that we know it's a big thing for you to do, and we're doing it. We don't need to do it for us. We do it because we know there are people out there that need to hear your story. Thanks for that. I wanted to also talk very briefly about what was tested on the Florida exam now that those results have been released. And some of you may be wondering, why don't we tell you, for example, what's on the UBE? The answer is we're not allowed to yet. We know we know what was given on the exam. We just can't talk about it yet. But in Florida, we don't have that particular restriction now. There are 3 essays in Florida. The first essay was in contracts and ethics, professional responsibility. It was the second hardest of the essay questions. It had a mean raw score of 40 out of a perfect raw of 100. The second essay was, again, a 2-subject question. It was in criminal law and constitutional criminal procedure. This is a bizarre subject, both of them. There's no reason for crim law or constitutional crim pro, so crim law, crim pro. These have not been tested subjects in Florida for decades, and then suddenly they've shown up. And it is hard to understand why they test them, because Florida tests Florida crim pro, and so why do you do federal crim pro? And it's just crazy. Surprisingly, it got the highest score of mean raw, 59.8, way higher than the others. It was an easy question. I felt like our students were well prepared for it, but it is strange. And then the third essay was straight up family law. Now, straight up family law should be super easy. You would expect that to get a great score. Nope, it was the hardest of the 3 essays at 37.7. Go figure. Family law, folks, it's just, I don't know, that's crazy to me. So those were the 3 essays. Then there were 3 multiple choice topics, the first of which mandated by the court, so always on the exam, is Florida civil and Florida criminal procedure. So, boy, was this about criminal procedure on this exam. You got everything on the essay, and then you get some more in multiple choice. And that was 19 questions, mean raw out of 30. And then business entities was the second topic, so that's corporations, partnerships, agency. Same mean raw score, 19 out of 30. And then the third was evidence, which is mostly, it's Florida evidence, but there's not much distinction, right, between Florida and multi-state evidence. And the mean raw, you want to take a guess? 19, 19, and 19. There you go. So you get 19 questions right, you win. So that's what we see there.
There's a question in the chat box from Brooke. Is requesting hand grading in Florida worth the effort?
Nope. Nope. Not a bit, not at all. In the 30 plus years that I've been doing this, I've seen one test score changed. It was a multi-state score, and it was under extreme duress and protest, and they moved it up 1 point. The applicant needed 2. So there you go. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy. Point your face towards the future and keep moving. But I know, and I got a lot of I got a few emails from people that said the test was administered improperly. I had problems with my computer. There were charges made again about my potentially having cheated because I moved my lips, or the cat jumped behind me, or something else. All of those things, I feel totally empathetic for you, but I will tell you exactly what's going to happen. 0, nothing. The examiners in Florida have 0 tolerance. They will make no changes. They will never go back. They will never acknowledge a wrongdoing here. And I say that after having walked through thousands and thousands of these. It just doesn't happen. This is the most difficult state of any state in the country, literally, when it comes to dealing with the examiners. They think you're the enemy. There's no nice way to say it. They think you as an applicant are the enemy, and they don't care what you think, and they don't care what happened. The result is the result, and they are done with you when the results come out. So I'm sorry to say that. I know it seems really harsh, but that is the reality that we face. Yeah.
All right. So as we're talking about these Florida results, I think this is applicable to everyone who's getting results right now if they're unfavorable, but also to people who are just starting out. What I think, Jackson, you and I were talking about this week was that, I know we've said it before, but really we want to say it. You can't be half in and expect to pass the bar. We are not today where we were 10 years ago in terms of bar passage rates, in terms of the amount of studying or the amount of understanding that you need to have. It is just, the reality is this is all getting tighter and tighter every year. We're seeing a downward trend everywhere, pretty much everywhere, in bar passage rates. That's obviously not because anyone's legal education is getting worse. It's not because the applicants are getting worse. It's because they are just tightening and tightening the standard for who gets in and who doesn't. And Jackson, you want to talk a little bit about what does it look like then to be half in, and why is that not enough? What do you need to do to get yourself past that finish line?
Yeah. I will acknowledge to all of you who are watching and listening today or later, I lay awake at night at 3 a.m. and I think to myself, what else can I do to help people pass? It is my passion. It's my profession. I know Megan shares this same desire. We talk about it all the time. I know June does. I know Brianna, Bob, everybody on our team thinks about all the time, what can we do to help people pass? And ultimately, that's why we developed all of the additional pieces to our course, things like photo reading and mind mapping and bar maps and the different coaching packages and the writing workshops and so on. The exam is, as Megan said, getting exponentially tougher. And we know that statistically. We'll talk in a minute about the MBE scores. And we know that the test is just extracting more. You have to do more to get the same score you would have gotten 10 years ago or 30 years ago when I took the bar. It doesn't even resemble that test anymore. You could stagger into that test after a weekend in a hotel room of cramming and probably pass in most jurisdictions. There's no such thing today. There's nothing even remotely like that. And so what we've tried to do is to consolidate all of that material and all of those options and extra pieces and put them together for you. We have students who take our basic course, our least expensive course, and they pass every jurisdiction, every exam. It's a really good course. But we also have people who need more than that. They need personal coaching. They need group coaching. They need to use tools like the paraliminals and photo reading. They need to mind map. They need to do more, and they need to be more engaged in the process. If you are repeating the bar and you think you can pass doing what you did previously, whatever that was, the odds are that's not going to be enough. That's just the statistical reality. I think that what makes a difference today is digging in and taking advantage of every tool that you can think of, every tool that we offer. I am really surprised when people fail and they fail repeatedly, and I say, get some coaching or add photo reading, and they never do it. And they keep getting the same score. You just aren't going to move the needle without that help. I want to share with you very quickly, one of the students that passed Florida actually was a first-time taker in Florida. She gave us permission to put her note up on our webpage today. She is from Puerto Rico. Her English language skills, by her own explanation, were not good. Okay. She actually says, I'm embarrassed at my English. She registered right from the beginning for the coaching package with us and worked with me on her writing. And I was tough on her. I was very tough on her. But the reality is that she got the coaching she needed and she passed on an exam when you would think foreign trained, from Puerto Rico, English not your first language, first time through, that's a tough one in Florida, right? That's not one that you say, oh, that's a sure thing. And she passed. And we get those results on every exam. We get people that work with Megan in the personal writing workshop, but they do these couple of calls with Megan and they get some help that they need in order to improve their work. Or they add photo reading, or they upgrade on a retake and they do the coaching with Megan or with me. I honestly believe if you're going to pass an exam right now, you have got to bring every tool you can to bear on it. And for some of you, I know you're going to say, well, I can't afford more. I get that. But I will say that with our unlimited deferrals and with a lifetime pass guarantee, there is no rush from our standpoint. And sometimes, and I think you would agree, Megan, sometimes it's better for somebody to sit out an exam and gather themselves, reset themselves mentally and physically in this COVID world and financially, and then get the tools and the help that they need. Now, I want to be really clear. I'm not trying to pressure anybody or try to upsell anybody, but I don't believe in this world that if there's a resource that you could use and you're choosing not to use it, that is just not a great decision. I think that's where I come out. What's your thought about that?
Yeah, definitely. We try to put as much included in the course as we can, certainly. Take advantage of those things. I know I say this every week, but the group coaching, it's free, it's included. You should be doing it. Like you 100% should be doing group coaching. Find a call that works for you. Try out a few of them. Maybe first one isn't quite the right fit. That's okay. Try a different group, see what works for you. When June, if you do the mindset coaching with June, she does like the journaling piece, things like that. Do it. Do those extra pieces. Find the things that you need to assess what you need help with and then fix those things. And honestly, like we're here for whatever that might be. If you need to fix your writing and you feel like you need a lot of help, Jackson and I are here for that. If you feel like you just need a little tweaking, we're here for that as well. We want to be as flexible as possible to provide you guys with what you need. Because we're just really seeing that if you are studying 10, 15 hours a week all the way up to the exam and you're like just trying to do it all on your own and you're hodgepodging it, right? I just like do this some days and then some days I throw in this piece. It's not enough. And I know that stinks and that's not fair and it's really crummy, but it's also the reality. And so we want to help you guys in any way that we can to get you so that this is done and you can move on with your career and not be stuck in this holding pattern of the bar exam.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I think that one of the things, and if you're not in our course right now, I want to encourage you, if you have not been successful and you're listening or watching this as a podcast later, you got to change things up. You got to do things differently. And we're good at this and we can help you. And we would encourage you to check that out. But I think in this world, given these exams and these kinds of statistics, people have to be prepared to do more and do things differently. And so I think that's the encouragement we want to give people.
Definitely. So just a couple of notes on some other results that we're waiting for. New York is usually expected about early October, and then New Jersey is generally around the same time. So still a little while to go for New York takers. Texas, it's generally about 9 weeks after the exam for the July exam. That would be 9 weeks would put us at next Tuesday. So that's not to say it's going to happen next Tuesday, but keep your eyes open. We'll let you guys know. Certainly we'll talk about it if it's released before the next webinar. And then Georgia and California, you guys know we're in for a long wait. It's going to be a while. Yeah, you guys you're probably not even on this call because it's a long time before those results come in. So just want to keep you guys up to date on that. Jackson, next let's talk about the interesting and sad trends that we're seeing with the overall scores seem to be dropping, overall pass rates, but specifically the MBE. What's going on with that?
I think a couple of things. The MBE score dropped by, was it a point nationally?
0.7.
0.7. And you might think, it doesn't make much difference. It makes a big difference, unfortunately. And it's a trend in the wrong direction. It tells me a couple of things. One, and this is based on now, the national conference has all of the multi-state scores around the entire country. So California and Georgia, everybody, they've got them all, even though they haven't been released to everybody. So what that tells us is not good news. It means that we will continue to see lower overall pass rates because the MBE score is going down. The MBE is getting tougher, no doubt about it. But I also think that the MBE teaching is getting worse generally out there. I continue to hear one course after another, one tutor after another talk about cramming and mnemonics and memorization, and they keep shoving everybody into that box, and the scores go down. The more people that do it, the more scores go down. On the other hand, when we have students using selective intuition, we see scores jumping, and they are big jumps. We had a Florida student whose score went up 15 points on the multi-state. 15 points. The whole nation's going down. They went up 15. How does that happen? Because they're using the techniques. So in your course, I want to say lesson 3.3, whatever course you're in, that lesson is selective intuition. Go look at it and then start doing it. It really makes a difference. It's a big deal. I think if you are planning to beat the MBE by learning and memorizing everything, A, you're in the wrong course because we're not going to support that. But B, you're going to fail. Statistically, the odds are against you. It's like going to the casino and saying, I'm going to win. You might, but we know that the casino is built because most people lose. You're going to lose. That's what we know. And this trend of the multi-state scores going down, I think, is more indication that hard times are ahead. I think when we get to February, where we've got more repeat bar takers, holy cow, it's going to be a bad beat down, I think, on the multi-state scores there, because you really expect them to go up in July. That's when you've got all of your top 10 law school superstar law students coming in. There's no better cohort to take the exam than you get in July, and particularly this July where everybody was sitting out. Previously, if the score went down this July, you heard it here first. February is going to be really ugly.
Yeah.
I'm just full of good news today.
I know. All right. So let me give a few notes about the exam, and then we are going to end on a hopeful note with resources and what people can do, because I know it's hard. The results seasons are just not been super uplifting lately, that's for sure. A few quick notes. One is that Pennsylvania is joining the UBE in July of 2022. That means that you'll be able to apply to have your score transferred to Pennsylvania, or you'll be able to sit in Pennsylvania and take the UBE exam. The thing to note right now is that they are planning on keeping the same score as they use currently. So that would be a 272, which is very high. So definitely, I don't know, it's not set in stone yet. They haven't formally said that, but that's their plan as of now, is to keep the same one. We'll see. That would be a very high UBE score, correct?
Yeah, it's 266 is New York, New Jersey, DC. When I see 272, my heart goes up into my throat a little bit. I don't know. I'm glad they're joining the UBE. I think that's good. Certainly makes a difference for reciprocity, no doubt. If you're up in that tri-state area, if you're up in the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic, and now they join all of those states in there, Maryland and so on, that are giving the UBE. So that part is good news. Again, we're narrowing down the number of states that are not UBE, and we are headed towards, we're in the proverbial barrel headed towards Niagara Falls, and we aren't going to talk too much about the falls yet because they're still years away, but there is going to come a point where the big states like California, Florida, and Georgia are going to have to make a decision whether or not to go UBE or to leave the universe of the bar exam entirely, because the NCBE is going to do something completely different in 2026, and it does not fit the model of these states that are outside the UBE. So keep your eye on that. We'll be talking about it, obviously, as we get along further down the road, way down the road. And I think New York may even, it wouldn't surprise me, I said this before we went on today, I think New York will leave the UBE at some point, because I don't think they want to be where the national conference is going, and I don't think California and Florida and Georgia want to be there either. This is weird, isn't it? Right? Seeing these big states like Pennsylvania and Ohio and some others go to the UBE, and then thinking some others might be leaving, and I don't know. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of movement, that's for sure. So we'll keep people up to date. But for now, head down, keep working towards the February 2022 exam, if that's what you're
Which
doing.
will be a regular exam, by the way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and it's still, as far as I know, completely in person. The NCBE has said no online exams. So
yeah, correct.
be aware of that.
I think the thing to keep an eye out with that is what they do about I can imagine in many states, maybe not all, there will be some form of vaccine and or testing requirements to be able to sit. So I'm imagining in California, under current California law, you couldn't have 1,000 people in a ballroom without some form of checking their health beforehand. So anyway,
if you want to go to a football game, you got to get a vaccination. If you want to get a bar exam, you got to get a vaccination. I mean, so
so we'll keep our eyes out for that as well. All right, then there will be new MBE questions coming from the NCBE in December. So that's just something to keep your eyes out for. Again, we will let you guys know. But if you're taking the February bar, we will publish them with enough time for you to use them. It's actually going to be perfect timing. They'll be in the materials probably just as or right before most people need to use them. So excited about that. We love it anytime we get new licensed MBE questions. Those are great because they're real questions. So they're not the MBE questions that we use. We didn't make them up. They come from the examiner. So this is what you're going to see on exam day. These exact kinds of questions. So we will.
You don't need to buy them. You don't need to buy them from the bar examiners. Believe me, they're charging us plenty. And we think, given the timing, we're not going to be able to write answer explanations right away. But it is our practice to write answer explanations, even to enhance what the examiners do. But you'll have plenty there. I will also say this for advanced planning purposes. Our intention right now will be to phase out the February 1991 bar exam, MBE 1, and then we will replace that with this new MBE because it'll have all 7 subjects, it'll be balanced properly and so on. So even though February 91 has been my long-standing favorite for 20 years plus, it's going the way of the dinosaur. And so if you're thinking, how am I going to take another full-length test? That's not what's going to happen. We're going to probably substitute it in for where you see the February 91 test right now. So just if you're thinking ahead, that's where we're going with that. Now, things can change. We're at the mercy of the bar examiners. They have to release this to us, has to be ready, but we're ready on our editorial team is ready to jump on it as soon as we get it. So we'll keep you apprised about that.
Definitely. Yeah. And really good point of don't buy it. I know a lot of people get emails from the NCBE. They will probably, if you do, they'll probably email you and say, hey, we have this new product. Please do not buy it. You're good. You already pay for it through us. So please just let us, we'll get it.
And we don't do what some courses do. We don't charge you to add on those.
No, of course not.
So, we'll put it in an online format as well as in the PDF. So
yeah.
You'll have it there.
All right. And then real briefly, can we talk about broadly the UBE essays? We're, again, not allowed to discuss the actual topics yet. They haven't been released officially, but we obviously do know what they were. So broadly, without saying what they are, any takeaways from the UBE exam?
Yeah, I've got a couple of takeaways. The first is there was only one essay of the 6 that was a crossover, and it wasn't a significant crossover. In other words, we didn't have big, massive topics like Florida taking big, massive topics and dropping them in. So that's one thing that I thought was really significant. It means the questions were more straightforward, I think, more manageable and able to be handled in that 30 minutes. The second thing is that I thought that the topics were pretty mainstream. It was not a weird out on the margins kind of exam. I thought the examiners played it pretty straight, and I was pleased to see that. If you go back, if you're a UBE student and you look at my preview video before that exam, it's pretty accurate. So I think that I feel good about what I saw, and I feel good about the test topics as they came out, and for the MPTs as well. There are no surprises, really. I think that's the bottom line. There were no surprises, and that's good news. And obviously different jurisdictions grade differently, but we will release the actual topics when we are allowed to do so. No big surprises, which is nice. I'm always happy when we don't get some weird off the wall thing happening. And
Definitely.
it's one of the beauties of the UBE, isn't it? They really don't, they're not as screwy as California and Florida or Georgia.
Yeah. We'll just wait till they change the whole exam in 2026.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So let's chat real quickly about what it is that we think are resources that can help people. We don't want to leave people feeling, oh my gosh, this is an impossible task. What is it that we would encourage people to do? What can they do to help push themselves over the edge here?
Yeah. We have a lot of resources already built into the course, as you said, Megan. And then we have some that people can add on. And we're actually going to introduce today a brand new resource. So let me start with that one. We know that one of the big challenges right now is time management. And we know that people really struggle with this idea of how do I find enough time and how do I get my studies structured in a way that's really going to help me make the most of the time. I've got a family, I've got work, I've got all these other things going on. One of the, as I mentioned, one of our group coaches, Brianna Belusik, has an amazing ability to deal with time management. She is great at this in her group coaching calls, but she can't deal with people one-on-one in the group calls. Brianna and I were talking recently, and she said, I would love to be able to do half-hour consults with students just to talk about putting together a schedule and a time management product for them. And we've set that up. It's only $97. It's unbelievable. It's a half-hour recorded Zoom call. You order it, you will be taken right to Brianna's calendar. You can schedule it and get right on with her, and she will work out a schedule and a plan for you, which I think is incredible. And you'll be able to go back and review that. You'll have the video and you can do it. If you want to watch Brianna's discussion of this, there's a video that Brianna and I did talking about this concept and why it matters and what it meant for her. And she's the mom of 2 young kids. She's a full-time lawyer in Texas. She's got a family. She's got the whole 9 yards. Does that sound familiar, Megan? And she's just great at this. So we're going to offer this at this price for a short time. I hope you'll take advantage of it. If you are listening to this, we will put a link in later. And if you're watching on replay, obviously you can grab it as well. Obviously her time, she's good at time management, but she's not a magician. So there is a limit, and first come, first served here. I would really encourage everybody to take advantage of that. So that's one brand new resource. Very excited about that. Some other resources that I think are really important. I think the personal writing workshop with you is really valuable for people. And I know you've gotten this feedback from so many folks after the results have come out, where they say, oh my God, what a difference it made that I could work with you and get a couple of sessions. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that when talking about time management, spending an hour working with me to get your writing on the right track is really helpful to many people. I know that for a lot of you, the thing that's been holding you back from passing has been your writing, that you just have struggle with how do I organize an answer? How do I figure out what to say? I know the law maybe, but I'm just not getting the scores that I'm looking for. And I'm not really sure what are the examiners looking for? What do I need to do here? So I think it's well worth your time to spend 30 minutes talking with me about how to do the writing. Then you write an essay on your own, and then you spend 30 more minutes with me going over that and talking about your writing and how to move forward. So definitely I'm here. I think that it is helpful the earlier you can do it, to be perfectly honest. I certainly have people who do it right closer to the end, or people who need check-ins closer to the exam. But I think that if you can do it now, then you're on the right track for the exam, and you're not going to be wasting your time practicing writing that's not very good writing. I want to make sure that you're practicing it the correct way. If you think about if you were training for a marathon and you started out running all wonky, you end up a few months in with a broken ankle or a torn ACL, That's not very helpful. We want to get you started doing it the right way so that by the time you get to test day in February or in July, you are prepared and ready, having learned the correct way to do it.
Yeah, it's a big difference. And the reason we wanted to talk about that product first is that it's relatively inexpensive. It's $297. That's not very much for having your time, and it's a real value. Now, we also know that there are people that have taken and failed the exam for whom coaching now would really be a difference maker, and they need more than just the personal writing workshop. And so we're offering a product in which you get 12 coaching calls with Megan for a much reduced price than what if you came to us in the first place and you were buying a coaching package of 8 calls with me or 15 calls with me. And that's available, and you can find it in your course platform. We're going to give you a link in the course platform. It says upgrade your course for personal coaching. You'll see that offer, as well as the opportunity to upgrade a regular course if it's your first time in the course with us to an 8-call package or a 15-call package. And we would encourage you to do this. Why is it important to do that? As we see earlier, we were talking about the multi-state scores going down. That means your written score has got to go up to compensate for it. And it isn't going to go up for most people without some coaching. Okay. Now, it might be an hour a la carte with you or an hour a la carte with me. Just like most law firms, my hourly rate's a little higher than Megan's. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily better, it just means I'm older. But then we've got the coaching packages, 8-call package, 15-call package, 25-call package. I continue to see the difference when people are in the coaching calls. They do better on the results. There's just no getting around that. There's a value add to having us talk about your writing. And so I know some of you are like, I'm not going to spend that money. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to. People pass with the basic course. But really, it would make a difference, and you should do it. So I think that's it is important to consider that, adding that tool. And then the last set of tools I would just remind everybody about are photo reading and paraliminals. I know that they seem weird to some of you, but they work really well. They make a huge difference for people. I've been using photo reading now for 13, 14 years, I think it is. I can count on 5 people in all those times that said, nope, not for me. I've done it. I don't like it. Everybody else, hundreds of people go, holy crap, this thing really works. It's amazing. I don't know why it works. I don't know how it works, but it works. And it makes a big difference for them. So again, I just really encourage you to use these tools to fight a tougher exam. It's a different world. And did we need all these things 20, 30 years ago? Probably not. Do we need them today? Yeah, I think so. So there you go.
Great.
Am I missing anything? Did I get?
No, I think that's everything. Yeah, thanks. So hopefully this leaves people with a bit more of a hopeful note that I know that it's really hard, but we have worked very hard. All of us are constantly trying to think, like Jackson said, of what we can do, what we can offer, what we have to offer to allow you guys to be put in the best possible position to be able to pass the exam. I'm so excited about Brianna's new time management conferences. Like, I think that's fantastic. And that's something that she came up with and brought to Jackson because she just felt like she cares about all of you and thought, I have this skill that I can bring. And that's really very much, I think, the ethos of Celebration Bar Review is that we all genuinely care about you guys. And we do spend our time thinking, what do I have to offer? What could I bring in? What resources do we have that can help you guys be able to finish this exam and be done with it and move on in your careers? So yeah, definitely take advantage of whatever it feels like you need. We are all here for you.
Yeah. And check out the group coaching calls. Check out June's call. I can't tell you enough. You just do it once. You'll be hooked. Trust me. She is, we don't call her the fairy godmother for nothing. All right. Great. I appreciate everybody being with us today. It was a little different kind of a session. We didn't really deal with specific study questions. We wanted to talk about what was happening and there was different resources. Encourage all of you, get into the new course site, check it out. You'll find all of those resources there. They're not intrusive. You can add them or not, or ignore them as you wish, but they're all right there for you, and they're there to help you. We will be back again next Wednesday. We'll update you. We might have Texas results. It's a possibility, but we'll keep everybody informed as that's going on. And as we start to now get a little bit closer to that point where we really put our heads down and start really focusing on February, we're still circling it. We're in this results season. So wish the best of results for everybody that's waiting. For those of you that did get your results, if they were not favorable, keep your head up. Don't give up. Time after time, we see people who get over the top after a couple of tries and they're like, I'm so glad I didn't quit. That is always what they tell us. I know it's discouraging and disappointing. I will put together a video for you, and we'll give you our best ideas about how to go forward. Thank you, Megan, for being here as always. Hope everybody has a good week. Stay healthy and safe, and we will see you again next week. All right?
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening and watching the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at celebrationbarreview.com.